Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be really short and sweet. I wanted to offer my advice and my thoughts behind self-care and self-love in nursing and in healthcare. So today's suggestion would be, if you're interested in nursing or any kind of healthcare position, which, I mean, even being a phlebotomist, an imaging tech, physical therapy, I mean, you name it. If you're thinking about getting in that field and you really are just really cold turkey and you're totally new to that world, I would say try to find an entry level position in that field, or as close to it as you can get, even if you're a receptionist or something like that, because what this is going to do is really give you from the outside, not from the outside looking in, but it's going to be very different from what the job description reads, what the company is going to say about themselves and their patient clientele and the experience, and top rated top place to work and in the city or town, blah blah blah. You're going to be able to determine how you feel, see kind of the inner workings of things, and then also to make a decision like, do you want to commit a career path to this, like literally putting in the years that you want to build off of that, and if you want to add education to that. Everyone knows that these are 1 to 4 year programs, and to move up to like a nurse practitioner, that's additional years, for example. So you really want to make sure that nursing is your thing, healthcare is your thing. I cannot tell you how many nurses I have met that have come in straight out of school, never had a CNA job, never had a patient tech job. They just came in straight through college, and of course they get their clinical experience, but that doesn't even scratch the surface, and they're miserable, and they really didn't take in account all the just things that you're just not going to read about. You're just not going to know unless you experience it. Give it 3 to 6 months. It's very hard to, depending on your program, it's very hard to work and go to school because of the demands of the program and things like that. But again, depending on your niche. But if you get a job and say, hey, you know what, this isn't for me. Okay, you've made some money, you learned something new. You can go on to the next option. You can look at other variations within. Let's say you do know you want to be here. You do know you want it to be healthcare, but you don't want it to be bedside. Okay, so what are some other positions within the organization that are available to you with your degree, with your associates, with your bachelor's, or does the hospital or facility have certification classes and trainings and different things where you may not even need a degree? You never know until, again, you kind of experience that and made that determination for yourself. Also, too, even if you're not in a position to maybe get the job, you can't get a job, really take your time with comparing detailed job descriptions. Maybe try to find reviews on YouTube of what the position and the role consists of. Follow some Instagram pages where people, talk about their experience with all the different aspects of healthcare and nursing, and then try to work backwards. If you really can't get a job in that field. But I say the job is the best way. I met an aide who, she started out, she makes great money, almost $20 an hour. But 6 months in, she was like, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and I don't want to be a nurse. This is just too much. Blah, 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 blah. She was very clear in that. But she didn't mind being a patient tech or a CNA. What she did like was imaging. She had some exposure in with CT scans and MRIs and all that. And sometimes, at least at my hospital, we transport patients to these different departments in the hospital if transport is really backed up. So you get to branch out and see different aspects. And everything isn't bedside. Like I said, everything isn't, strictly nursing, and you don't have to just go to nursing school just to get into that facet. Even with CNA work, there's psych CNAs. There are, of course, home care CNAs, where if you get in good with the family, a couple of families and you are, private pay, and you have your insurances and you have your things in place, and you have basically built your own business around your skill set, you don't need anyone else. You don't need an agency to place you and then take a portion of your proceed your money. You don't need anyone to navigate that. You do need to have a rotation. Things do happen. You may have someone that's had a procedure. Okay, they're better. They don't need the bedside assistance. Or your patient may die. That's a very realistic part of healthcare, that sometimes your patients are just in that stage of their life. And so you need to have a backup plan, or you need to have, ads running, or a way that you're advertising your skill so that you can have a backup plan. You don't want to just have that one patient and then you're kind of like, in between. Some people work at adult daycare. Some people work at the jail, as far as nursing goes. Some people work at veterans offices and things like that. So there are research nurses, there are research CNAs. There's so many things that I've read about. Now, these type of jobs may be in different cities and in places where there's way more opportunity and way more diversity. But again, broadening your horizon and kind of jumping out there, it's, you're able to kind of gauge what you want. And lastly, when you do come to the point where you're able to get an interview and talk to HR, really have your list of questions. This is one of the biggest things that I learned through the interview process. Have a list of questions. Ask about work-life balance. Ask about self-scheduling. Ask about what their weekend policy is, what their holiday policy is. Ask about turnover and the dynamic of the unit, and how long has most of the employees been there. These are key questions that are going to paint a picture about the culture and the environment that you're going to be joining. Now, I want to make another video separate that talks about, that blurred line with friends and buddies and haha hee hee with coworkers, because you are there to be professional. You are there to just get your bag and go home. I don't think that you should just be like antisocial, but understanding and knowing the culture of the unit will at least be like, if everyone is professional and working together, that's the type of team I want to be a part of. Or, do nurses feel like, look, I do this, you do that, you're down here? You will get that vibe when you ask these questions. You will get a feel for what the reality is, because there are some places, thankfully, I've never worked anywhere like this, but nurses are very like a nose in the air. I wouldn't wipe my patients, or clean them up to save my life. Why? Because I have, some letters behind my name and you are just a CNA. It is a team. It is a relationship. It is, at the end of the day, the patient is at the center of care, and you want to make sure that you don't fall in that trap of being sold this dream of like, oh yes, we're all these things, and then at the end of the day, they're really not. You'll be able to read micro expressions. You'll be able to get a feel for the nurses' roles and responsibilities and the CNA's roles and responsibilities, and then be able to like, okay, does this sound like they work together? And there is a cohesive goal, and the patient, again, is at the center, or are nurses your boss and, you're down here, and so whatever. That is also going to be the thing that really shapes your experience within healthcare. And it's sad to say that is an issue, and people have experienced that. I have never worked with nurses that wouldn't help me pull my patients, turn my patients, clean my patients, console my patients. Their patients are patients. It is a team effort. And I had to get out of the mindset of like, I'm just a CNA. CNAs, patient techs, transport, dietary, even housekeeping, they are all such an integral part of the patient experience and patient care. So no one person can do anything by themselves anyway. There's no way that I could do it transport. Sometimes there are places in the hospital I didn't even know where I was going. And like, we need to take the patient, da 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 da. I'm like, I've never even heard of that department. Where is that? Like, and then so it takes 3 people to move 1 patient with the IV pole, the oxygen, the bed, steering, making sure you're not bumping any corners. It can be a lot. Oh, gathering the patient's belongings, waiting, and then bringing them back up, whatever, getting the room ready. That's just a small example of how it takes a team unit to do just simple things. So if you get a vibe for a type of facility or organization that is very divisive and very like, depending on your role, you're like this on the totem pole, I would be very leery of that. It's not everywhere, but that is going to also to shape your experience, unfortunately. So if you can get a vibe for that, and also too, with the interview process, maybe you could even, here's a tip, I just thought of this, go a little early, watch, listen, observe. If you see someone that looks friendly, that's approachable, that says, hey, can I help you? Are you looking for a family member, blah blah blah, you can say, no, I'm actually here for an interview, but how long have you worked here? Do you like it? Would you, how do you feel about the dynamic? What's the, are you guys like really family oriented as far as like teamwork, or, like whatever. People will tell you the truth. People will be like, oh girl, I put in my 2 weeks, because, it can get a little crazy, but I don't know, like they're not going to sell you now, there's a difference between negative employees and employees that, again, they can no matter what's going on with the shift, they can do what they need to do, clock out, handle their business, and go home, and not let things bother them. That's also a secret to success within healthcare. But again, but it may help to just 1 or 2 people here and there. Just ask, let them know like who you are, and yeah, I'm here for an interview. What do you think about it? How long have you worked here? Really simple. Or after your interview, if you see someone again that looks approachable and friendly, hey, I just finished up my interview. I met with your manager. She seems really nice. Did she hire you? How has it been so far? I'm really excited. So that's what I would say to anyone that is considering, again, especially going back to school. School is such a sacrifice. It's such a time commitment. It's a financial obligation, obviously. And it's great to educate yourself. It's great to, ensure your hands and have a skill set like that, because nursing can take you anywhere in the world. We know this, but you want to be happy in it. And it may not be the best personality fit for you. It may not be the best work-life balance for you. If you can't be open-minded and flexible and think on your feet, if you're not a people person, if long hours, on your feet, again, fast-paced environment, or very high energy, stressful situations give you anxiety, maybe consider something else. Keep it real with yourself. Sometimes this is not always about what's a smart money move, career move. Sometimes it's not about, what's the most popular thing right now, what everyone is doing right now. You know what I mean? That's kind of like how psychology was. Psychology majors were like, yeah, psychology is easy and you can be a psychologist. Like, no, it's really, you're going to have to keep going with that. It's not as glamorous and simple as they seem to make that degree out to be. And a lot of people saw that. And so they either had to go back to school or get into totally other fields. Now, if you got a bachelor's, you have an associate's, you are going to stand out a little bit more than someone that just has a GED or a high school diploma. That is a given. But why waste your time on something that you cannot use, or that you have invested in that like you can't stand to do? This is at least supposed to be a 5-10 year plan. If you want to retire early, you want to invest in some things, you really want to, again, make sure that you can really stomach all that it takes in healthcare and in nursing. So I hope that inspires you and gives you some things to consider. Just to quickly recap, if you can, try to get a job, an entry-level job, really basic, easy peasy, in the niche that you are interested in, to give you a different perspective, so that you are not jaded after you have put all this time in getting a degree, passing exams, and going through the onboarding process, training, getting on the unit by yourself and to be like, what the hell? You know what I mean? I've seen it too many times to like almost be like, well, how did you not know that maybe that should be a thing that you do? Oh, and last tip with that, if you do love it and you want to continue on, you'll already be in a flow. You'll already like been there, done that, seen that. I kind of know what to expect. Even if you take some time off to go back to school once you leave, again, you'll have that experience that'll just be like, okay, it's very familiar. Like you'll have a visual understanding of all the processes, the equipment, the flow, all the things, the different positions, all the things. And again, this is applicable nursing homes, different types of facilities, long-term care, rehab centers, hospitals, even home care. You really can, because there are nurses who do not always work in a hospital. They also can do home visits. So again, play around with what you think you might like, make a little money. Which basically you're creating your own internship. You're creating your own shadowing experience, and then that way you can save your time some stress and hassle, and really find what you love before you dive all in with school. So thank you for watching. I hope that gives you some inspiration, like I always say. And until the next video, peace, bye.